What about we kind of jumped right in, so we didn't really do any sort of like setup. But I did have a question on here that for anybody listening today, that's like I haven't gotten into any of this soul health, mental health, emotional health. What's a good starting place for someone that's listening? That's like, yeah, I just have not been paying attention to this. I have not been prioritizing this. Like now I'm listening to this episode. I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about. Like, what's a good starting place? Like, all right, I want to start getting healthy in my soul. What's a easy first step, easy place to start? Maybe not easy. Maybe a good place to start.
Well, I think you got to start off. There's two things. You got to start off and you got to choose to value it. Because if you wait on motivation to take care of any part of your physical body, your soul health, if you wait to feel motivated, it's going to be a hit or miss, and it's just actually going to make it worse. Because you're not consistent, and your lack of consistency, you'll beat yourself up. Yeah. So I think what you got to do is just simply go, hey, I'm going to choose. Because attitudes don't have to be felt to be fostered. No. I don't have to feel motivated or feel like something's important to just choose for it to be important and then behave in that way, position my body in that way, and then over time it becomes ingrained. So to see well-being, holistic well-being as a core value, as an issue of stewardship. And when you talk about holistic self-care, a lot of times we hear that, think of self-care, it's like bubble baths and champagne, right? Or something like that. Right. But really what self-care is, it's our core selves, the very part of us that engages the Lord, that makes decisions, that participates in the gospel and his kingdom in the earth, the core of who we are. Self-care is the core self leading who we are in that particular area into health. That's what self-care actually is. So it's not just this humanistic framework where it's all about my happiness and my contentment, because sometimes self-care is I have to put myself in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
So self-care is the core self leading who we are into spiritual health, the core self leading who we are into soul health. And so I think really what you do is you go, I'm going to choose to value this, and I'm going to choose to take one next step that is sustainable.
Yep.
That's it. This goes back to another shout out to Thomas. Wasn't he talking about goals and stuff? Mentioning goals.
Thomas.
Thomas was getting on to us when we ran into him. We mentioned him on a few episodes ago. This guy we met at Make Room in Florence who listened to the podcast, and he was saying that we have done an episode on goals and setting goals, and like we need to stick with our goal of bringing Dr. Andy back on the podcast. So he was kind of giving us grief. So anyways,
that was funny and awesome all at the same time. But just set a goal that's smart, specific, it's measurable, it's accomplishable, it's relevant, right? Like there's some irrelevant goal you set up for your life,
right?
And that it's timely.